Welcome to the Her Voice Shines podcast, where we celebrate the power, brilliance, and resilience of women everywhere. I'm your host, Shanadra Washington. Join us as we share inspiring stories and insights from extraordinary women who have found their voice and are making a difference. Together, we'll create a ripple effect, illuminating the path to visibility and empowerment. Let's break barriers, shatter ceilings, and lift each other up. In each episode, we dive deep into the journeys of women who have turned their challenges into triumphs and their dreams into reality. Whether you're looking for motivation, guidance, or a community that understands your journey, you're in the right place. Stay tuned and remember, let your voice shine. And just like that, we back like we never left at the Her Voice Shines podcast. I'm your beautiful host, Shanadra Washington, streaming from none other than Houston, Texas. And I always tell you guys, if you're thinking about moving here, don't do it. We are full. But we love you anyway. And I'm so happy to be back in the recording studio today. I know you guys see these drop all the time, but I do have to take some time off. And I am back for the first time in 3 months. So I am full of energy. Lord, please pray for all my guests. They have to take all this energy in, but it's going to be a good time. And we bring the best guests like no other. We have another beautiful lady here for us today that's going to come to the stage, do our number drill, which tells us her name, where she's streaming from, and we get the magic of her story. Without any further waiting time, here's my very beautiful guest for today.
Thank you, Shanadra. My name is Melissa Hunt. I am in Seguin, Texas, which is between San Antonio and Houston, so not too far away from you. My story, kind of the long and short of it is, I loved taking care of some of the elderly people that I was taking care of in their home when COVID hit. And one of the things that broke my heart in that was seeing how they were being told what their end of lifetime looked like. And I decided I wanted to do something different. And so I took my skills as really the natural mother, the nurturer, and we bought a great big luxury home and we opened it up to people who will come in and live with us and have that same experience of the luxury lifestyle at their end of life. And they get to design their own last days on this planet, which I feel is something that people talk about dying, and it's not dying, it's living until we take our last breath. So really squeezing all of the life we can from every single moment while we're here on this planet. And we're here in Seguin just creating beautiful days, as many days as we possibly can for all of our friends, and teaching others how they can do the same. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Oh, I love this. And I didn't get to tell you before we started, probably a good thing, because sometimes my little intros, I'm like, should I just start the show? But anyway, I have a very sweet spot in my heart for elderly people. My grandparents, they're 77 and 81 respectively. And I'm pretty much, they're still living in their home, but I'm pretty much caregiver. We're there 3 or 4 times a week. My son and I, he's 8 years old. We take him to doctor's appointments. And my grandfather had a stroke in 24. So it's coming up on 2 years, January of 24. So we're about to go to the 2-year mark, and that changed the dynamic of everything for us. Literally everything. The amount of doctor's appointments, we had to do inpatient rehab for 3 months, outpatient for about 12 weeks after. So my 2024 was basically filled with this new role that, even though they were elderly, just didn't expect for it to just change so suddenly and step into it. And I think, because I've been afforded the opportunity to have many, I met 3 great grandparents. So I've had the opportunity to always be around people that had a generational split for me. My heart kind of goes to that direction. So what you do, Melissa, for me, it tugs on my heartstrings, because it's a space and time in life that people, they can kind of see it, but they don't. And sometimes getting there, and I've had to have a lot of reflective moments, even personally, because seeing their journey, I have an introspection of like, okay, if I'm blessed with long life, what do I want that to look like? What do I want that to feel like? Who do I want around? And sometimes it's difficult for us to have those types of thoughts, right? But it's a very real life thing to do. And the fact that you're doing it in the way that you're doing it, I just wish I could give you a virtual hug, girl. I wish I could just and pat and give you that, because it's really a thing. And with our elderly population, I feel like, and this is just my personal experience, that they're a forgotten population. There are so many times when I'm in doctor's offices and I have one of my grandparents, and I have to literally say, "You guys stand here." And I have to turn around and I have to help 3 or 4 people. Where is this and what are you asking? And I just find myself in that natural kind of nurturing mode.
Yes.
I probably should be doing something like you. Who knows? This may be a sign, but it's really something I just innately do, and I just know that population is definitely a population that's forgotten. I know that I want to ask you because that takes a special type of character trait that I think. I mean, you talked about it being naturally nurturing, which I think is great. What else do you think helps you stay grounded in what you do? Because there can, of course, be hardship with this population, with anything. But what is that keeps Melissa Hunt grounded to work? I believe is so beautiful.
That's a beautiful question. And I think one of the things that you've touched on already is having conversations. We've been, I think, steeped in a culture where we've pushed these kinds of conversations to the edge and to the side because they're uncomfortable. We've been filled with this idea of what death and end of life looks like. And a lot of times we attach trauma to death without even having a story to go with it. We automatically assume that death has to be traumatic. And one of the things that we're doing here is we're rewriting that story. We are creating a space where designing end of life can look like, I just got off the massage table because we have our masseuse that comes through every couple of weeks, and we have our chiropractor, we have sound bowls, we have the kinds of things that I know fill me up on a regular basis in my home. We're outside gardening. We cook and eat amazing food. All of the things that give life a joy and fulfillment, we do those on a regular basis. I know a lot of times caregivers suffer from burnout because they're just working and going and constantly pouring out of themselves. And one of the things that I heard so beautifully said this last week was when somebody becomes a caregiver, they automatically become a caregiver for 2 people. And they tend to forget about that second person, and that's self. Like, that's me. I get to take care of me just as well as I'm taking care of everybody else, because I deserve it just as much as the people around me deserve it. So it's different for everybody. When I talk to caregivers, I can give you the list of the things that fill me up, but sometimes what fills you up looks different from what fills me up. I talk to people who say, give me Sundays on the couch with the football game. That's not me, but it might be you. So finding what it is that fills your cup, and me finding what fills my cup, and making sure that that's integrated into my everyday and your everyday, is something that can really bring that mindfulness that I get to take care of me. I get to honor my sleep schedule. I get to eat healthy foods. I get to do all those things that I would do for the people I'm caring for myself too. And a lot of times it gets to be, I do that for me first.
And I'm going to actually take this piece of information and give this to my grandmother, because my grandmother, she's elderly herself, but she still pours into her husband, which is my grandfather. They've been married for 60 plus years. And one of the things, I even tell her, hey, take a step back. But she's so hardwired into doing the thing, and I have to do this, that she does neglect, some of her feelings and some of the things that, she's done. I'm like, okay, well, hey, let us come over, you go out, maybe get, like you said, we even suggest a massage, because she used to do that pretty regularly, prior to this stage of life. And, she'll say she's going to do it. But by the time we get there, she's talked herself out of, or I'm just not going to do it. I'll just sit here. And it's just that cycle of different things that are happening. And I'm like, we understand where he is, but you also too are in a stage of your life too. And we just want you to try to get as much out of it as you can. We know it's not perfect, and there's sometimes limited resources, and that's capital and human resources, right? But we try our best to create that. But I still feel that she doesn't honor the opportunity sometimes that are granted for her to do that, because she's so hardwired on being that, wife / primary caregiver. So that, like, a whole bunch of light bulbs went off when you were talking. And I'm like, it's definitely relevant for me with having such a life shift with this type of stuff over the past 18 months now. So it's very timely to hear this. I want to go to you specifically because I think one of the things you said, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really good because what you pour now is so beautiful because you said that one of the things for you, your biggest obstacle was what you told your mind and being stuck in your mind.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, because you're to this point, but because I think you're really doing very, very good work. But tell us about getting there because sometimes those obstacles try to tell us, oh, Sinead, you can't, or Melissa, you can't, or this is too big, or I'm not worthy, or whatever it looks like, or whatever your mind is telling me. Tell me about how you navigated some of those obstacles to even get into a place to pour this beautifully.
Yeah. So the first step for me was definitely awareness. And I remember the moment I was standing in my kitchen and my precious husband, bless his heart, we were in this battle of wills and he refused to put his dishes in the dishwasher. And, it's one of those battles that I think a lot of married people have. And the thought that I had in my mind was, why is he treating me like a $15 an hour employee? And I realized, oh, that's because that's exactly how I see myself. That's what I'm doing in my caregiving business. I'm out as a $15 an hour employee with the people that I'm taking care of. I love doing it. I love cooking for them. I love cleaning for them. When I get home, I want a partner, but he's treating me the way that I'm showing up everywhere else in life. What is it going to take for me to shift out of this mindset of really seeing the value that I'm able to bring on a regular basis? And when I was willing to make that shift from thinking, I just love people and you can't make any money doing that, into, finding love is really all people want, and people are willing to pay to have that love available to them. That is what started really opening the doors. And one of the things that I teach is how to go from $15 an hour to $15,000 a month. It's a huge mindset shift to be able to realize that I can take all of this care that I'm pouring into people who are saying, especially for seniors who are in facilities, I'm paying $3, $4, $5, sometimes $10,000 or $11,000 a month to be in these facilities, and they may look nice, but I'm not getting real care. Whereas me, I'm struggling to make ends meet, and I'm providing real care. What's that breakdown? Where is that not showing up? And when I was able to get into alignment with the kinds of people who wanted to pay me for what I was actually providing, my worth elevated, my value elevated, and I broke through one of the ceilings that I had created in my own brain, just being willing to see the value that I could create for other people.
Mm. And that is so important because whatever it is in life, it could be where you are. You've just never been exposed to anything. That value piece, oh my gosh, Melissa, it's hidden. And some people never get there. Like some people never get, to stepping in and walking in their true value. And I tell people this often because, I say on the podcast often, before I started doing all this, I was just a corporate girl. I worked a 13-year financial services career. And I had, because I worked that type, I'm very fortunate, I don't want to sit here and be ungrateful. I'm very fortunate for my career. But value was a big thing for me when I left in 2020. Like value was a thing that kept me up at night because I couldn't really figure out I felt I was doing a thing, and yes, I was getting the check, right, to be able to sustain, living and things, but that value piece was far away from the day-to-day grind. And then I tell people in 2020 when I had that powerful mindset shift, when everybody thought I was going crazy, Melissa, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm just trying to figure it out, right? But everybody couldn't understand the depths of me thinking about value and work and how do I want to show up in this world and identity. But it's the biggest payoff that I could ever tell you. I can't even put it in words, Melissa. I really, really can't. I'm not that person again. I will never be her again. Because of that transformative stuff that happened. I'm not saying it was easy, but I will say it was worth it, as we talk about, value and work. Because I wanted to walk through that because I think what you did was so beautiful for people that are listening, because you said, look, I do something really well. I provide something that people really need and people really desire, but I don't know how to put a value add or ask around that. And there's so many people that are sitting here that watch this podcast that have no idea really how to do that. And, we've already kind of talked about it in the first segment about this population that Melissa serves. But the other part about it is that, my grandmother, she was actually a nurse in a facility for years. So she knew how facilities work, which is probably another reason why she's so indebted and, like, hey, I want to do it because she has a history. I used to volunteer in senior care. I did it for all of my teenage years. So I understand, like I said, I'm, closely related to this population, that, guys, I'm telling you that this particular level of care, even in fancy facilities where it's, 5 figures a month, sometimes it doesn't come out in the wash. Sometimes there are horror stories that happen. This is not really to scare you, but as Melissa said, it's so important that we have these conversations and, we talk about it. That's why I tell you guys, elderly care, is my jam. And I do know, kind of the ins and outs of many things that even happen in this, community that's not talked about. So I wanted to make sure that we talked about that and navigated through your obstacles, because it could be somebody out there just like Melissa that has a lot of love to give and don't know where to place their love in the world. So that's why this podcast matters, so that we give you, some lenses as to how people are putting these gifts into the world. Now, on top of this, Melissa's just sitting here, she's so bright and, she's beautiful, but, she's went through doubt and, legal pressure and a lot of competition, right? Because we want to make sure that we're telling the story. Tell us what kept you anchored. We know that you had to go through this thing with your mind and value, but then there's all these other things that's external, right?
Yeah.
How do we go through the external anchoring?
Well, I had when I purchased the house, my family, we purchased the house, I had a burn the ships moment, right? If you're familiar with that analogy, there was no going back. The home that we purchased, if my business did not succeed, then we were sunk. And so I had no choice. I got to figure it out. I wasn't sure if I would or not. And even the feedback that I received from people who are in the industry, I heard people who ran other homes or other facilities would say things like, this is too nice. People either don't want all of this fanciness or they're not going to last long enough to enjoy it. And that hurt my heart so badly, because I remember thinking, I hope that when it's my turn to receive care, somebody doesn't discount the niceties or the things that matter in life, the soft beds and the delicious food and the things that bring joy. I hope they don't discount that for me. I want people to understand, even if I can't communicate verbally, that I still deserve to be treated well. In fact, if my days on this planet are coming to a close, I think we get to make the most of those. So really, there was this, that feedback that they gave me only, it reinforced for me that there really needs to be a shift in senior care culture, that we get to remember that the people that we're caring for are human beings and they deserve honor and they deserve good care. Because if we don't change what's happening now, it's going to be you and me in that same system. And, you kind of touched on this a little bit too, that if the building is nice, it can look pretty on the outside, but the people who are working in it are a lot of times, those are the people that will be the first ones to say, I don't ever want to put my loved ones in a place like this. I'll keep them home as long as possible. And that says something about senior care culture. And so I always encourage people, look for places, look for locations that are going to offer you transparency. One of the things we had somebody in our home who was taken care of by the state, and the ward that was taking care of him had placed a nurse in our home, and the nurse was going back and feeding falsities to the person who really had the ability to shut me down. And it was kind of a scary time for me. It was in the first year of my business. So how did we overcome that obstacle? Well, we have cameras in our home. And as soon as we were able to open up the live feed, and that ward was actually to see with her own two eyes what was actually going on here, know that she could show up at our door at any time and that we would let her in, that we were very transparent with how we run things, that fixed things immediately for us. So one of the things that I think really brings peace of mind to the people that we're serving is transparency. The more we can bring out there, the better everybody feels about what is actually happening. So find some place where you can see that transparency, where you can have cameras in, or you can show up whenever you want to show up to see how things are going. That would be, I think, for me, it not only supported me in moving through some of those situations where people were saying things about me that weren't necessarily true, but it also helps on the other side for the people who know that they can build trust with me at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And, time goes pretty quickly. And what Melissa said is that if there are not conversations and actions that's taken, you watching this podcast could very well be in that situation. And let's just not forget, I mean, it doesn't have to even be, old age. I meet people younger and younger that are having strokes and different things that cause them to have to be in a care facility. I just want to be very transparent. This is not to be scary, but this is why these conversations matter, because the level of care in some of these places are just not up to standard. And one of the things she mentioned, she said, well, those people inside of those facilities are saying, like, I wouldn't want, a person there. But it also too speaks to the culture of that particular facility. So, doing some digging around to see what type of characters are kind of, roaming around these hallways, because sometimes, there could be some bad apples, kind of around in there. And I remember, and it was, and I always take this, people kind of call me weird when I say it, but like when I'm out and I'm caring for my grandfather, I'm taking care of something for my grandmother, I'm always getting this high praise, right? Oh, oh my gosh, I hope that, I wish that someone would do me like that. And you're so patient. You're so kind. I mean, it's a good thing, but I wish it wasn't such an anomaly.
Right.
I'm being honest with you, and I am not. I'm always very gracious and saying thank you and those type of things. But I wish it wasn't a rare find. I wish it wasn't that type of thing. So I always kind of have that kind of icky moment, because like I'm like, guys, this is really what we should be doing. This is really what has to happen. I said, because even outside of this actual care, I was like, it's hard enough to take care of the actual things of calling insurance companies and where do we show up for here, and this is medication covered, and this is only one specialist in the network. That's all like the logistics and business side of it. There's a whole other side that has to ignite to actually say, okay, we got to get up and put shoes on. You understand? Like, because you do it. But, and I tell people that is definitely something to think about. And I always go back to my personal upbringing, because, like I said, I did meet great grandparents. I've seen my grandparents take care of their parents in their own way, in their own community. So that to me was always very important. And like, I do see that my generation has shifted.
Yeah.
And I'm not pointing fingers. I know that things are harder. We have more, 2-parent households that have to go into the workplace. There are a lot of different life dynamics that have shifted what adult care looked like. I'm not naive to say like, we all should be sitting around. I'm not saying that, but I do think that there is a level of consciousness and maybe even more reality that has shifted as the elderly population, continues to kind of boom out. I want to ask you this, because I don't have a teenager yet, but I don't know, these kids that's like 8 or 7, they might as well be teenagers, because I don't know. It's just crazy times, Melissa. I don't know what these kids are doing. Okay. Yeah. I won't bash them, okay? I'm really bash. I'm going to keep it sweet today. But I want to ask you this. I mean, you're raising teenagers and you're caring for the elderly at the same time. And girl, if I tell you, I need to give you a hug. But what has that taught you about grace? Because grace is a thing. What has that actually extended? Because my level of grace over the last 18 months has probably tripled, more so than I would have thought it would have.
Yeah. For me, one of the things that made this home so special when we first started it, my kids were 9, 11, and 13. And they've been homeschooled a majority of their lives. So they continued to be homeschooled, and they were pretty much raised in this business, which did several things for them. When you grow up with something, you think of it as just, it's normal. That's how things are. So I love that my kids are growing up with this service as a lifestyle. As an example, when push comes to shove, they'll take care of people. They'll take care of each other. And and they are very much just like normal teenagers now. They've chosen into a school program where they're getting out of the house and having opportunities to socialize, the internet, and they're having some of their own identity issues as well, and they're in a struggle. One of the things that I'm so grateful for is that I'm here and I'm home. I'm not out. I'm not my time is not divided. They know that they can always come to me and be with me. Right now, they don't really want to be with me because, mom is persona non grata right now. But I take a great deal of comfort that, even Harrison Ford said his kids didn't care, and he's the coolest person in the world, on the planet. He's Indiana Jones and, Han Solo. You couldn't ask for a better dad. But I think teenagers, I remember I did it. We all go through this phase where I don't really want anything to do with mom or dad or family, and they're in it right now. And I get to be on the journey, just walk with them in grace and just remind them, I love you. This is a safe place for you. We're here for you. And I'm not doing it alone. My kids have grandmas and grandpas out there that are, in support. They are loved more than they realize, and they are working through, algebra and boyfriends, girlfriends. What am I even going to do here? They're supported in ways that as teenagers, they're not capable of appreciating yet. And the community is real here, and it's not just for them, it's for me too. Like, I have the grandma and the grandpa who have said, I've been there, mama, and teenagers are hard, and you're doing a great job, keep going. So it's like my own little personal community that I've built that lives in my home with me and supports me, supports my kids. And it's just a beautiful thing to really see community come back to life in the home that I'm living in.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I tell people, it's always, you have the branding and the form and stuff, but these podcasts, it literally brings me my people. Like I just say it.
Yeah.
So I don't care. I stand up and I do it, in a way that's pure and genuine. I mean, my son, he's homeschooled now. He hasn't been to school yet. He's 8. And of course, he hasn't seen the ins and out of mommy trying to do the business and mommy being a caregiver, mama doing all these different things. But then, and I'm always wondering, like, oh, you always have these things that, should I be doing this? Or maybe I should, there's always these things, right? And you
Yes.
really pray that you're doing your best and you're giving it all you got. And then you get that one little moment. And this little 8-year-old kid, I was just telling someone, I was doing all these things. And he came in, he said, Mom. I go, yes. He goes, have a seat. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on here? It's like, are you taking care of you? And when he said that, I could have just fallen out of the chair, because it was like, and it's just certain things and cues, that I try and give him. But, when it comes back to you, you have to hear it. It was just really just something. But to know that, because I always, even at the tender age of 8, I said, well, we're going to be in life. We don't know what life is, we don't know what's going to happen in life or whatever. But we can be committed, to ourselves, to try to do the best we can with ourselves. And that's just a simple lesson, that I teach him. So for him to ask me that, Melissa, I was like, oh my gosh, I must be doing something right. I'm not too crazy.
Yes. So good. I mean, sometimes they open their mouth, and when I hear myself coming out of their mouth, I'm like, oh, thank you, God. And then sometimes myself comes out of their mouth, and I'm like, oh, caca. So
Right.
pick up both sides.
Yes, absolutely. Let me ask you this, because when you think about this, and I'm definitely praying that this movement grows, because I know it's needed. But if you could think back, like, what would you hope that people said about the legacy of what you're putting into the earth? Because I think about legacy often. I really think about it daily, because it's really a daily deposits thing. I don't let it get too far. Like, I'm like, we don't know if I left today, I know that I made deposits into what I wanted to feel like a legacy. So I ask legacy questions to keep people grounded and to really help them continuously on a daily basis envision what they want that to be, for what you're building.
Yeah. It was at first, I wanted to prepare a place that I would want to receive care in. So I'm thinking 20, 30 years down the road. And I've had the privilege and the honor of sitting at the feet of beautiful, forward looking people. And Brian Clemmer was a man who taught me that he had a 500-year vision for his life, and not just his life, because he knew he wasn't going to be around for 500 years, but the impact that he could make on this planet reaching into 500 years. And so one of the things that I've done is I've sat down and I've written, what does it look like in 20 years, in 50 years, in 100 years, in 500 years? When people walk into my home, a lot of times there's still this response or reaction of, I didn't know something like this was possible. And I want to create a movement such that family-based care homes are available in every neighborhood, that this is becoming the norm, that we know that we can find a home with somebody who loves at all levels, who are supporting senior populations, who are caring for the community all the way through the last step. And doing that in such a way that, no matter what technology does or what that the government does, that we continue to invest in each other on a one-on-one level in our communities and really keep in touch with each other and be responsible for each other and not expect somebody else to do it. If I always say, if you think somebody should do something, I mean, you're somebody. So step up and start creating the things that you want to see that can really make a change on this planet.
Mm-hmm. That is so beautiful. And I think you are doing that I think you are taking and pouring in those daily action steps to see that to fruition. I really do think that. And look, I can look around and I can tell you several places that need a home somewhere, of course. I mean, you're in Seguin. I haven't been out that way in quite some time. But of course, out here in Houston, I always joke around, but it's really, really so saturated and populated. And the elderly population is just, I mean, oh my gosh, it is a place where it is just growing and growing and growing, and it's just not enough resources. And I can tell you that just from personal experience of all the places and things I had to do over the last 18 months, it is just not nearly enough resources that are of quality. So I really do wish that a model like this existed and you could go, if they're full 2 miles here, I got another one 2 miles down the road I can go and try, that it's really that accessible. I really do pray that becomes a true reality. Now, I want to have a clean segment. I know we've talked about what you do throughout, this entire conversation, but I want to make sure we have a clear segment that, of course, states what your facility does, again, where it is located, and really how people can reach out and connect with you about this. I mean, there could be a lot of people that may even have questions. I don't know if you do any other teachings around how to maybe even get started in this industry. If you don't, you should, because there's such a great need for it. But we just want a clean connection segment. So I'll go over to you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I at the end of my first year, I had a waiting list that could fill 4 more homes. So I started teaching people how to open homes like mine. And I say like mine, but they're all family-based care homes. And as every family is different, every home is different. And what I love about that is people are leaning into their unique strengths, which means we're able to serve a greater population of seniors and people who are requiring some support. I am available to chat with. I give out my address and my phone number all over the place. I want people to come knock on my front door. We open the door and take people through. We've shifted to a ministry model. And so as a ministry, we're able to actually serve more people and have a greater range for both financial and needs bases. So we've got people here that we're happy to, I don't even have to do marketing. If you come in my door, Helen's going to tell you this is the greatest place there is. And she's almost 104, and she's probably my best marketing department right now. All of the families who are associated here know that they can come in anytime and we'll have coffee together and we will share a meal. We truly are a family. We're a home. We're not a facility. You don't need to make appointments or schedule during visiting hours. We're always open. So I'll make sure that your guests have an opportunity to figure out where that information is. I'm always available on, you can find me at my website, melissahunt.com, or eldercaresolutionsgroup.com if you're wanting to look at actually the movement for family-based care homes. I teach every other Wednesday. I teach webinars, I do coaching, and I'm happy to support people. I have several people in Houston and Dallas, and we're kind of busting out of Texas as well to take this to a national movement so that we can have this available for everybody in the country. And so it's not just a blessing for our seniors, which it definitely is that, but it's a coaching program to support caregivers in taking care of themselves in a way that they probably never have before. And also giving an opportunity for seniors to invest in them and not in corporations. So, I mean, it's really a win-win, and it's a win for families too, because I don't have to choose between taking care of my family and taking care of my seniors. I can do both. We're under the same roof. So all of those things, I'm actually teaching, I'm speaking. Find me where you can. I'm happy to answer any questions and direct you to how you can create your success in your life and be of service and support in your community.
Oh, I love it. And the other thing I thought about, while you were saying that, I mean, that multi-generational, living. Oh my gosh, like people do not understand the benefits of that. Like, it is, I know we probably can go on I just went on the tangent because it just fell into my spirit. But it is a beautiful thing. I mean, people often miss it, like I say, because I was so engulfed with it, I was blessed enough to have that. I mean, it would show up in ways I didn't even, really no, I was like one of those wise beyond the years type girls, because I'd always had this wisdom, anchoring me that was, 30, 40, years, 50, even 50 plus years that were, that was really older than me. And I have even noticed, like I said, with my son and what is his great grandparents, my grandparents, his great grandparents, it's just like a little subtle thing. I mean, before the pandemic hit, I was working, and then after COVID, I didn't go back to work. But prior to that, fortunately, my grandparents were actually in very great health at that time, some years back. And they pretty much kept him for 3 years, 2 or 3 years, while I was working before, this particular journey. And when I tell you, like, that kid, he was like almost like a mini me, because he was just all around all these older people. But I know for a fact it shaped him in a way that I couldn't have, that a daycare wouldn't have. And I don't really even have the words to really just say in quants. I can't do that, because that is something that will always be implanted in him. So you guys, that is also too another value add that we probably can't talk about enough on here. But this really is like a win-win-win. When you sort of think about all the wins, we can say about 10 wins.
Yes.
Win-win-win model.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm so fiery. Like, I need to become a marketer for this, because I just
nobody loses in this model. There are no losers. It's so great. I love it.
You need to give me a t-shirt so that I can wear this and become a part of the marketing department, because, people know, like, not a lot of stuff I'm just really passionate about, but the things I'm passionate about, I'm really passionate. Yeah. I'm really passionate about, and the rest of the stuff is just kind of there. But I have to tell you, Melissa, I know I've said it throughout this podcast, but I have to tell you, I am incredibly grateful for what you're doing. I'm incredibly grateful for you to take the time to sit and talk to me about this, about something that is so important to me. And I tell people, in the kind of thickness of caregiving and support, this was such a timely exchange, that makes me really feel good about the work that we're doing, and know that there's a need, and that there's people that also too feel like me and know the need. Yes. And are showing up, with grace and integrity and caring for this population. 104-year-old client.
Yes. Oh man. Stories, the fun we have, the recipes that she has shared with me. It's, you want to talk about legacy. It goes both ways. It's not just to my future, but it's back to the past.
Mm.
And it's bringing all of that together, and the beautiful abundance of knowledge and how robust our lives can be when we're willing to be in relationship with each other on that level. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I talk about the multi-generational home. There's the studies are out there that show that it's good for everybody. And it's not just my seniors and me and my kids, because my seniors' families are coming, and that's, people who are my parents' age, and people who they have grandchildren and great grandchildren, and we have them from, zero to the grave. And we have such a beautiful abundance of time that we can learn from each other. It's so precious. It's so
Oh my gosh. And then people like will see that age 90 or 80 or whatever, not realize that there's still people that had like a journey. And that is one of the things, like, I talk to, like older, like literally 85-year-olds. It's like we're having a conversation, and, people are always like, well, what were you guys talking about? Like everything, like life, like we're talking about literally everything, because like, yes, I mean, I see the age or whatever, but I see the person. I see the person. I respect the journey. I respect the stories, and I really respect that. And, I talk to, older people all the time, and they're so grateful for it. Like a single conversation, sitting there having a 30-minute conversation. You know how many times they'll literally stop me nearly and oh my gosh, just thank you for talking to me, or just taking the time. Like, you didn't have to do that, because I really genuinely see you as a person. Just like me, I don't care what you think about, the age, whatever, but like literally we're just existing, we're both still existing here in this space. You may have a little bit more experience and more distinct experience than me, but I literally just see you as a person. So this was I couldn't have asked for a better first day of recording. Like, this was the best. This was the best first day back recording, guys, in a long time. I want to make sure that I give this last segment over to Melissa. I want her to tell us really something that captures the essence of Melissa Hunt, and give us some great parting words for the space that we shared. I will cue it over to you for final thoughts, and I'll be back to close the show.
So your journey is your journey, and my journey is my journey, and you're going to create your best success. It's going to look very different than mine. And my hope and my prayer for you is that you find that journey as a beautiful path towards recognizing what your strengths are and learning to value them, so that you can value yourself, because nobody else on this planet is going to do that for you. And I think you deserve it. I am so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and y'all have a pleasant and a blessed journey.
Oh, I love it. And you guys know I love it. And to those of you who are in the Her Voice Shines podcast land, I never skip on my guests. I do put them through a process, but it's all in good fun, because I have to make sure that I make this place an intentional space for them, that they make sure that their stories are heard, and that I really lean in to understand and really, really amplify their stories and journeys. That's very important to me. So, like the old church folks say, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. You might as well accept it. And I'll be back in no time with another amazing woman on the Her Voice Shines podcast. Until then, we're out.